absolutely delighted with the guest that I get to introduce just now. We're going to have on Sydney Weaver, and Sydney Weaver is not a one-time gold medalist, not a two-time gold medalist, not a three-time gold medalist, not a four-time gold medalist, not a five-time gold medalist. She hasn't got 6 gold medals, not 7 gold medals, or 8 gold medals. This is Sydney Weaver, and she's a 9-time gold medalist, professional speed cuber. And I don't know, I think that's pretty amazing. And when I first found out that Sydney was going to be on during my slot, I thought, wait a minute, this is, if you win 9 gold medals, you must be about 40 or 50, and then she's ridiculously young. Sydney has been done all this, and she's just a kid, but great to see Sydney. She loves the Rubik's Cube, and she loves using the Rubik's Cube to teach folk about maths. And so we are in for a treat. Welcome, Sydney.
Hi, Chris. Thank you for that lovely introduction, counting up all the medals. Makes it feel a lot grander than it is. But over the course of the next 30 minutes or so, I want to show you all some cool Rubik's Cube tricks, maybe teach you a little bit and try to answer as many questions as possible about the cube, because I think it's a really great community and hobby to get into, and a good way to learn math. So I'm going to start by just mixing up my cube here, and I'd like to see if anybody wants to start putting in the chat guesses as to how fast I'll solve it. This is always fun to do. And Chris,
I have bigged you up a wee bit, so they're maybe going to be guessing like 30 milliseconds and stuff like that. But yeah, be realistic, folks.
And Chris, if you'd like, you can get a timer ready. If not, I do have one ready.
Yep.
That's a cube, not a timer.
Yes, I am. I thought I was one step ahead, but I was one step behind. Right, okay. I have got a stopwatch.
All right. Well, I will go when you say go. How's that sound?
I think that's great. Well, I'll give you a 3, 2, 1.
Go for it.
3, 2, 1. Start solving. Nearly there, I can see it. Wow, wow, wow. Now, I actually got a wee bit mesmerised watching you turn it round to prove it was already done. I've got it as under 15 seconds. I think it was probably closer to about 12. I was sort of wowed for a couple of seconds there. That's amazing. Wow.
Thank you. So that's going to be just the one of many solves that I'll show you. I have a variety of puzzles here that I'd be happy to show you. But first, I wanted to show a little bit about, kind of how Speedcuber's mind thinks to kind of give you an idea of where you might want to start. And if any of you have a Rubik's Cube at home, I recommend you pick it up now, mix it up, and we're going to learn maybe kind of the first step to solving the cube. And maybe I'll sprinkle some more in later. So whenever we're solving it, we're not just looking at it and saying, oh, I know this entire solution. That would be a little bit challenging to do. So instead, what we're going to do is look at 4 pieces, and we're going to build something called a cross. So I'll show you a cross real quick. This is what a cross would look like.
Okay.
And all you're going to do is focus on one piece at a time and say, I want to solve this piece. So Chris, if you want to try to follow along, that'd be awesome.
Oh my goodness.
So just find one edge piece, one with 2 stickers, and say that you want to solve it. So mine, for example, here is orange and white. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to swivel this over to the orange and then swivel it down to the white. And mind you, folks, this is just a crash course on how to go about solving the cube. This is not an in-depth tutorial. And then, just go ahead and find another piece. This one would actually be very easy, for instance, because it's already lined up with the green, and then we can line it up with the white. And then this last one here. So that's all I'll show you for right now in terms of how to solve it, because I'd like to continue showing you some cool tricks. First, I'd like to see, what would the chat prefer to see solved? A 12-sided Rubik's Cube or a 5x5 Rubik's Cube? I'd like to give people what they want. And I'm trying to look at the chat here, which is why I'm looking to the side. I know we're on a bit of a delay. 5x5, someone said. 5x5, okay. Usually people want the Megaminx. I suppose I can do the 12-sided, okay. The dodecahedron. All right, I'll go ahead and do the Megaminx first. And just to avoid keeping people, bored while I solve, Chris, if you want to, start conversation, because I can talk while I solve, that would be great. So
Amazing.
I've
Be honest, Sydney. Were you, as someone who loves cubes, were you a wee bit annoyed when you had 8 gold medals, and that's a cube number? You know, getting to 9 is a wee bit annoying. You're going to have to go all the way up to 27 before you can stop. You can't stop at 9.
I never thought of that, but now I will never get that out of my mind. So I'm going to go ahead and start this solve. I have my own timer going, and yeah, Chris, we can just make some small talk while I solve this.
The other thing that I don't want to judge anyone in the chat for putting 5 by 5, but that surely it's 5 by 5 by 5. I think is it easy to solve a 2-dimensional Rubik's square? Is that like those wee games you used to get where you have to slide the numbers around to get them in a certain order? Do you know the ones?
You mean a 15 puzzle?
Yeah.
Well, funnily enough, the 15 puzzle actually carries a lot of the same theories that a Rubik's Cube does, except, well, obviously the cube is 3-dimensional, but you can learn a lot about even parity from the 15 puzzle.
There you go. See, that's great. And the other thing that I'm sure from having some students in my class over the years who were keen Rubik's Cube solvers, I seem to remember them saying that there was quite a difference in the solving method or how things work if you had a 3 by 3 by 3 compared to odds and evens, basically. Like, is a 4 by 4 by 4 possible? Is it really tough? Is there something about the difference between the odd and even sides?
So when it comes to even cubes, and I'll just go ahead and show my timer for this. When it comes to the even cubes, you have the ability to encounter parity, both odd parity, basically saying that it's a position that you wouldn't normally encounter on a 3 by 3, and it requires a very lengthy algorithm. But once you learn how to solve the 4 by 4, any size cube becomes trivial. It's doing exactly the same thing. It just takes a lot longer. So I do have a few other tricks lined up. Let's see here. I'm just trying to decide what to do. I guess I'll go ahead and, fill a little bit of time with a one-handed solve since I've already got this cube mixed up. Now, I'd like to ask people, how long would you think, since I will be holding one hand behind my back, that it would take to solve this cube? And Chris, this might be a good time to bring up what we were talking about before.
Yeah, this is, I was amazed and sort of inspired by the story that I heard about Sydney, because when you were really young, you were diagnosed with rheumatoid arthritis. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. Oh, I'm going to start this off.
And so, so this is amazing. Sydney has this physical condition, which should absolutely mean that a one-handed solve is absolutely nightmarish. But Sydney has been able to sort of partially use the Rubik's Cube, is that right? To sort of help overcome. Oh my goodness. I wasn't timing that. Did you time it?
Yes, I did. 19.81 seconds.
A one-handed solve, folks. 19 seconds. That's amazing. Tell us a wee bit about your condition, Sydney, and how the Rubik's Cube has either helped you overcome that, or maybe hindered you. Do you think you'd be able to do a 3-second cube if it wasn't for that? Tell us a wee bit about you.
Yes, so I will solve this while doing that. I want to keep people entertained. So yes, when I was 2 years old, I was diagnosed with arthritis, and the prognosis was that I shouldn't even be able to walk by the age of 16. And here I am at the age of 23 and having, full use of my hands. I started solving the Rubik's Cube around the age of 14. And it, was kind of like a bit of a therapy because of the slow progression that you take in how you turn the cube. And I was so passionate about it that I wanted to get better, and it in turn improved my hands. I had always struggled with, anything like that was tactile, like playing an instrument or even using silverware, as funny as that sounds. But the cube, I just loved it so much that it was worth, learning how to overcome that.
Wow. And yeah, that is amazing. And do you find that how your dexterity through doing the cube has led to you? Do you play any instruments? No.
I do not. No, I am completely tone deaf.
Well, and I'm sure I'm not the only person who's admiring your waistcoat today, Sydney. That is something special. It's not even, and for those of you who haven't seen Sydney before, it's not even her most Rubik's Cube most themed Rubik's Cube outfit. She's got a full suit, which is a glorious thing to witness. And I'm sure people will be asking about that in the chat. Oh wow! I mean, that's amazing. It's really phenomenal, and I also think I'm struggling just to keep going with the chat and watching you, and you're actually solving this while having a conversation. I did imagine that I would be standing doing this in silence because I didn't want to distract you, but it's brilliant that you're able to just keep this going. I did see a picture of you on with a large America's Got Talent background. So did you take the Rubik's Cube onto the show?
Yes, so I'll talk a little bit about that. By the way, I saw someone request I do a super flip, so I did a super flip while we were talking.
So that's a technical
that was
term.
A Lampshade asked for that, so that's for you out there. So yes, I had auditioned for America's Got Talent. I didn't end up getting to the live auditions. However, I did appear for about 2 seconds on the show in my full suit. That was at the, not the live auditions, just in front of the producers, and that was a lot of fun. And I was planning to go back this year, but then, COVID kind of happened. So maybe next year I'll be able to take advantage of that.
And did you focus on entirely the speed cubing element, or did you manage to sneak in a wee bit of maths?
So it was completely speed cubing. I actually did a trick where I was blindfolded and I made the words AGT appear on a set of cubes.
Nice.
And I'm not sure why I didn't make it, but that's totally okay. Maybe it just didn't fit their metric. But I thought I came up with a unique enough trick.
Yeah, that does sound amazing. Maybe that's what you need to do for the next time you audition. Add in some maths. That's what the show has been missing all these years. Maybe they're looking for someone who does the mathematical part of it as well. So what's your job, Sydney? What do you do for a living?
So I actually, solve and teach Rubik's Cubes for a living. To be a little bit more specific, I do a lot of math outreach programs, and I try to use it as an interesting tool to teach people math. Also, I'll go ahead and start another trick while we're chatting. This one, I'm not sure how it's going to go. So I have here a solved cube, and what I want is someone, I'm going to try to put a random letter on this cube. It can be, the first letter of somebody's name if they want to put it in the chat, and we'll see how that goes.
Wow.
So I've got to figure out the pattern live.
There was a wee bit of letter creation in the last half-hour segment between Katie and Tom. So this is a nice wee theme being continued. Nicely done, Sydney. We're 30 seconds behind in the chat, the YouTube chat. So that's why we're just filling the time while we wait. Well, we've got a letter. Sebastian would quite like a Y. Is that doable?
That should be doable. Let me see here. All right.
Well done, Sebastian. You were the first letter in, and now we're going to get almost the whole alphabet. We're wanting an A and a G and an R and an H. I suppose if we had another hour, I could probably ask you to put each of these letters on opposite spaces. That's jinx. No, but now we're even getting Greek letters. Somebody's wanting pi. I'm with you, Daniel Hodgkin.
All right, well, that's a bit much.
Excellent.
I'm really not sure how this trick is going to go, but back to what I do for a living as I'm trying to figure this out. Yes, so I work at a whole bunch of, sort of math outreach programs. I also facilitate my own events online, which you can find information about them on my website, which I'm sure someone moderator would be happy to put in the chat. The public events I run are free as of right now, which is good. And then I also host some private lessons as well, if you're interested in that. Let's see. I really wish someone hadn't chose Y. I really don't know how to do this one offhand. So thank you to Sebastian for giving me a challenge.
Well, this is going to be impressive if you pull this one out the bag. And we've still got plenty of time. While we're doing that, I will remind people that this is part of What's On-a-thon. Mark Watson's 24-hour comedy show is running in parallel to this, and so during the day, you can sort of jump between. You can be fully entertained with hilarious and witty content, or you can go along to the What's On-a-thon comedy version. So how are you getting on there, Sydney?
Not so well, but we can continue with conversation. You know, I was hoping someone would do an easy letter like T or something, but that's totally fine. I need a good challenge. It's also very early here, so I am trying to stay awake as I'm doing this.
So what time is it where you are, Sydney?
3:45 in the morning.
Now this is commitment. You know, we're doing a whole 24 hours. You could have picked a time that was convenient to you and wildly out of sync with us. But that is, I'm impressed. Thank you very much for being with us and for taking on this challenge. You know, this is I guess if we're just talking about the some people in the chat are saying Sebastian.
Right, there we go.
Oh my goodness. Whoa.
I apologize. That took way longer than it should have, but I did manage to get it.
That's still great. And so is it just the way that I'm seeing that, or are the outside, the perimeter cubes or sections larger than the inner ones in this cube that you're showing?
Yes, so that's actually a really good question. So when it comes to the bigger n by n by n puzzles, it is very challenging to make it perfectly cubic. And a 9 by 9 is actually a really good demonstration of that. I'm not going to do a solve. That would take the rest of this entire show.
Yeah.
You see how they're much bigger? It
actually looks a wee bit like Mondrian art. Like, if you've seen it, doesn't it?
Yeah, a bit. And it has to do with the stability of it. I have to say I don't understand cube mechanics quite as well as I should. I just know that, you know, there's only been a handful of perfectly cubic puzzles made like that, and it's difficult. And it's mainly because there are pieces hidden within. A 4x4 would be a good way to show that. So a 4x4 actually just has the 5x5 edges hidden on the inside. So you might be able to see that kind of there. Yep. Just barely, and that's kind of what makes it possible to function. And also something to do with the corner stocks. That's a really bad explanation as to why it needs to be that way, but that's the best I can give right now.
That was, I just threw that one at you. You didn't know that was coming. How many Rubik's cubes have you dismantled over the years, Sydney?
Oh, can you
intentionally.
Okay, intentionally. That's so there's one puzzle that I really don't like, and it's called Skewb. I have one somewhere around here. I destroyed one, and the video is still on my YouTube channel because I just didn't like it. It's actually a really simple puzzle, but it just wasn't for me.
Yeah, and do these things, especially if you're going at high speed, does a speed cube wear out? Like, how long will you be able to use one of your cubes for before you need to reinvest in a new one?
So for me personally, I wear through them incredibly quickly, and it's due to my poor turning style, but that's, you know, kind of links back to the arthritis. I have probably, since I've started cubing like 8 years ago, gone through like 24x4s, which is ridiculous for most people. And I once, so Chris, can you tell me how many centerpieces this cube would have? And I have a reason for asking this.
So we're taking...
1, 2, 3, 4 on 6 sides. Okay. What would that come out to?
So the center, are we looking at 8?
No, so there's 1, 2, 3, 4 on each face, so 4 times 6.
Oh, right, okay. I thought you meant the middle of the cube, in the center of the cube.
No.
Right, so, got you.
The reason that I ask is because I have broken on a single 4x4 26 centers, and you'd be like, how is that possible? Because there are only 24 centers. Well, I bought an entire other cube to replace the centers because I preferred the core to the one cube. And yeah, I broke so many of them. And you can break just a tiny piece of a cube and make it unfunctional. Yeah. So do we have any good questions in the chat?
Someone said solve a 1 by 1 by 1 cube. Which, yeah, okay. We have shared your website. Alien, one of our techs, has shared your sirwaffle.com, and we did have a chat about that. Is it harder to scramble than any other cube? Oh, what about the scrambling process? Like, is that like if you're in a competition or whatever? How does that scrambling process take place? Is it a certain number of twists that you must have for it to be scrambled? What is the definition of a scrambled cube?
So previously, it used to be a minimum number of moves done, and that still stays true for bigger puzzles, such as the 7x7 is minimum 100 moves, the Mega Minx minimum 80 moves. But now it uses something called random state, and random state ensures, and I could be wrong, it's misquoting this slightly, that it can't be solved in a fewer amount of moves. I think it's fewer than 13. That might be way wrong, but the point is that it ensures that it's more random and that you're not going to get a scramble that's just like this, one move away.
Yeah.
I have here pulled up on my phone on a speed cubing timer a scramble that you might get to practice by yourself,
Okay.
and you just follow these sequences of moves.
Right.
Each face is represented by a letter, and you just kind of follow it from there. In a competition setting, you turn in your cube. It goes to a scramble table. The scrambler mixes it up. It goes into a box, and it's brought to you, and you get to look at it for 15 seconds.
Yeah.
But scrambles are kept very secretive, especially over the past few years.
So there's a few questions. Some of them might be just quick fire questions. So, for example, how long have you been solving, Sydney?
For 8.5 years.
And how did you learn to reduce your time to be so low?
Honestly, a lot of practice. Practicing correctly is really the major part of it, not just, autopiloting and doing solves. It's actually analyzing where you can improve.
Yeah. Do speedcubers work with robot solvers?
So I know a few computer scientists, speedcubers, who have maybe programmed some robots or some computer solvers, but I wouldn't say in general speedcubers work with robots.
Yeah. Okay. Great. This has been excellent. Is there anything else you wanted to share with us or point people towards? Plug of your. I mean, I think it's amazing that you could actually do this sort of one-to-one tutoring or coaching of learning how to do the Rubik's. But how do people find more out about you, Sydney? And is there anything else you want to share just before we
Yes.
wrap up this section?
So I did have one last trick, and it's going to be a blindfolded solve.
Oh yeah, we need that. We need that.
All right, so for this, I'm going to remove my headphones. I can talk while doing it, but I want to increase my chances for success. It should only take about a minute. Chris, you can feel free to talk once I've removed my headphones.
Yeah.
So I have a cube, and I would go ahead and be honest and say I pre-memorized this before the show just to increase chances of success, but it is still a random scramble.
Okay.
And normally I could do it from any scramble, but at 3:30 in the morning, that's just not going to happen. All right, so I'm going to pop off my headphones, and also don't mock me. I don't know where my blindfold is, so I'm going to be using a hat.
So Sydney is, yeah.
So first, I'm just going to review the scramble one last time before I start, and then I will don my blindfold hat and begin solving. So let's see here.
Okay, so the hat is on, folks. I don't know if I'm really equipped to do this commentary for Rubik's Cube. I don't think I'd get the gig at the Rubik's Cube solving championships, but here we go. Look at this. I can't even see the thing. And that's amazing. Oh, a slight pause. Is she crumbling under the pressure of all these people in the live stream? She does look like you. I like how you can sort of see the sort of ripple effect. You begin to see like, oh, there's more blues. This is looking promising. And then all of a sudden it disappears. Oh wow. This is not a straightforward solve, is it? You know, if I was going to be doing this, I'd have rigged it. Oh my goodness. This looks like we're heading in the right direction. Well done. Well done, Sydney.
I made a minor mistake,
yeah,
but that's okay. I think
I think we can all see where that was headed, and that was yeah. So was that a memory issue? Was that a twist? Was that a mechanical issue? What do you think meant that you had one out of place on each face because the rest was perfect?
So I realized midway through the solve, so basically when you're looking to blind solve, you're memorizing pairs of letters. I realized that I got two of my pairs mixed up. I tried to correct the mistake, but I didn't do it the right way, and that's where I got this minor error because I can see it relates to the exact letters I had to memorize.
That is amazing that you can identify that problem straight away, and that you probably suspected it before you took off your hat. Even
Pretty
better.
much.
Listen, unless there's anything else you want to give us one last plug, where do people find out about you? And go for it.
But my website would be the best place because it has the link to all my social media. Also, I know this didn't include as much math as you probably were expecting, but I just want to say, if you learn the Rubik's Cube, you will learn math. You don't need math to solve it, but you will learn math if you do solve it. So I can't emphasize that point enough. But yeah, if you check out my website, I have links to my YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, you know, all that good stuff. Never hesitate to reach out to me for any cubing questions or anything like that.
Brilliant. Right, listen, Sydney, thank you very much for staying up to a ridiculous o'clock to do this. Thank you for showing us blindfolded tricks, speed tricks, enormous cubes. It's been fascinating, and it really is inspiring that you have overcome all of these issues with your health, partially through this passion that you have for cubing, and I'm sure that people could learn loads from you. So thank you very much, and it's been lovely to chat with you today.
All right, thank you, Chris.
Thank you.